Hugs, salutations, greetings, brothers and sisters, world citizens, my LGBTQ family, my rainbow nation across nations. Welcome to a very special episode of Coffee with Dragon. Going to flag it up, of course. This cup of coffee is dedicated to world peace, but specifically to harmonious Sino-Canadian relations, or North American Sino or Sino North American friendly, harmonious, and peaceful relations. Where to start, where to begin, blame, point fingers. I'm not going to. I'm going to try to stay away as much as can from that. So pour yourself a cup of coffee. This is Coffee with Dragon, yours truly, universal spiritual teacher, world LGBTQ citizen, and multidisciplinary artists international. Special cup of coffee, holiday cup of coffee. It's called Santa's grog, clog, something like that. Better than expected quality coffee. Purchased it on special. I'm not gonna divulge where because at the present moment in time, grassroots receiving no financial, political, social support, only through friends, good friends, brothers and sisters, like friends, and oftentimes teachers who support me morally, ethically, and spiritually in a friendly way. So I have no financing at the present moment in time. So if anybody wants to sponsor a cup of coffee, please message me publicly or privately if you want to sponsor on a topic. Coffee with Dragon. Calling for harmonious Sino-Canadian relations. Sino, of course, stands for China, but China more inclusive of a historical, from a historical perspective of Sino civilization or China's civilization, Chinese civilization, which of course is, from what we know, of course, we're yet to discover way more from our past of mankind. China is indeed a civilization that's more than 5,000 years old. That being stated, ladies, gentlemen, gentlemanly ladies, non-binaries, world citizens, people, mankind, where are we today? 3 days away from New Year's Eve. We are, of course, December 27th, 2018, according to some. Thursday. It is 5:14 Eastern Standard Time. Montreal, Hawk Island. And in Beijing, the capital of China, it is 6:14 a.m. in the morning. So hopefully by the time now our brothers and sisters are waking up, going to work, going to do business, going to shop, going to on their daily lives, for art, perhaps, such as myself, writing poetry, songs, or dancing, or theater, of course. It's very rich theater in China. Sino civilization has a rich background of theater and arts, of course. 6:15 a.m. in Beijing. Hopefully, by the time that about their business and I'm finishing this cup of coffee, world peace is on its way. Wishful thinking. We can start now. We can start today. Healing myself, you, we together. We win. Win-win. 6:15 a.m. in Beijing, 12:15 in Jerusalem. Just gonna stretch a bit. Cairo, of course, city of the pyramids, my holy city. Tokyo 7:15 a.m., Hong Kong 6:15, Chengdu, China 6:15 a.m., Beijing 6:16, 6:16 in the morning a.m. That is, in an hour, sun is rising in Beijing. So, what's going on? A lot of things seem to be going the wrong way, the negative way. First and foremost, directly the trade war began at the beginning around of this year 2018 between China and the United States. How? Because of the impositions by the Trump administration, of tariffs, that is tariffs on more than 200 billion worth of goods from China. 200 billion. Need to remind one that a billion is 1,000 million. So 1 billion has 9 zeros. So imagine 200 followed by 9 zeros. That is indeed 2 followed by 11 zeros. That's a big, 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 big amount. Of course, that's not the total tax. It's about 10 or 11% total, with different ranges from 7% to 11 to 13%. I'm not going to go into the more details of it. With an average of about 11, let's say. So more than $200 billion. So that is about, let's say, 22 billion. And a billion is 1,000 million. Again, 1 billion has 9 zeros just in tax on that 200 billion. This is macro level economics, micro level finance, and macro level trade. Has to do, of course, with import and export. China, of course, retaliated. Counter what's called in international trade countervailing tariffs. This is the core of the issue that began the trade war. Have mentioned this, of course, in the past. Coffees with Dragon Oil, part of the world, citizen finance, the paradox and what's happening, how markets have been severely affected in the past 2 weeks. There has been a downturn. Thank goodness one of my scenarios of a Christmas crash did not fully materialize, although there was a severe downturn for between a few days before and after the holiday season, Christmas. Markets have rebounded very strongly today and yesterday, in 1,000 of points, and that's certainly some very paradoxical effect there from perhaps injection of investors. Will not diverge on that topic, but needless to say, the trade war and the core, the fundamental, the essence is that the United States is the biggest importer, the biggest buyer, and the biggest market for goods from all over the world. Keep this in mind. So the biggest buyer in the world economy, the integrated world economy of import, export, and other business, financial and commercial agreements, deals, and arrangements. And you got China, the biggest exporter, by de facto producer, and by de facto the seller. And of course they're interrelated. It's just, it could be that he's the biggest producer but not the biggest exporter. It could happen. That's why I'm mentioning on both sides these three. Just like the United States could be the biggest market but not necessarily the biggest importer in terms of capital. We're talking about US dollars, because most 66.6% of commerce in the world, more or less, it's actually more, is actually dealt in United States dollars, right? It's not in yuan from China, yuan. And again, there has been some complaints about the currency of China, that it's too pegged, it's not fluctuating, and that it's devalued. There's some validity to that. Is it devalued by how much? Is it considerable? Is it better that it's like that for both importing and exporting parties? Yes, no, perhaps, maybe. At the macro level, by how much, which industry? I'm open to hearing from you all. What do you think specifically, in details or as a general way? So the yuan, the United States dollar, is the currency of world trade, currency of choice for import and export, the United States dollar. And you have the euro, and my own as a Canadian world citizen, our currencies I think tradable in the top 10 still, if not on the 11th or 12th place now, but was ninth or 8th just a year ago. But of course it's fluctuating and it's changing. But I do still believe that the Canadian dollar is in the top 10 tradable because of oil and other good banking practices and good financial, relatively good, increasing debt and debt ratio, which is kind of alarming. Also, we'll not go into the specific of the Canadian economy and the problems and the good, the bad, and the middle in it. Back to what I say. So the trade war was initiated China-US, and this affects the worldwide economy because China is the biggest producer of goods, the biggest exporter. Like I said, a country could be the biggest producer, but not necessarily the biggest exporter in terms of capital and value and quantity, and also the biggest exporter, seller, that is seller in terms of capital, right? Export net value, net in dollars, US dollars. Total exports by exports and the production levels. Number one, China, production levels. I'm talking here specifically the quantity of goods. Right? Electronics, clothing, toys, you name it, you name it, you name it. So these three, of course, they're interrelated, but I'm mentioning them because, of course, it might not be the case, but this is the case in the situation now. 27th of December 2018, situation now, today. As I'm recording this videos, it's going to be unedited, raw and unfiltered, non-teleprompted, non-communique. I have an angel there, you can't see it, he's whispering to me, so I'm also a humble student of the universe. That aside, United States biggest market for goods, biggest importer of goods, talking in quantity and value, capital in terms of US dollars, and buyer. You got the biggest buyer and the biggest seller. Started a trade war at the beginning of the year. You see the paradox in the world economy now. It has been since 1984 more and more integrated, right? Everything exchanges and culture and the internet and more online business. Mega Chinese corporations, Alibaba, Huawei, of course, which I'm gonna get to, right? And all the other ones. The US, of course, Walmart, Apple, Facebook, right? The internet, right? Because it's an internet service in China, right? And our understanding of China's progress and making their step to be world citizens, world players, is integral to our whole thing, to reach more understanding of each other, culturally, socially, so we can work for freedom. We can work together for a free world. It takes sacrifice, it takes internal criticism, it takes pain, internal ferment, and getting rid of the debris to let love, light, and life penetrate our hearts. Right? Also to be strong, powerful, just, moral. And one is to have a harmonious world order, secure world order, peaceful. We had enough wars. Anyways, so this has become the situation today, 2018, now today, 27th of December. The biggest buyer and the biggest seller, and by de facto biggest exporter, biggest importer, biggest market, biggest producer, right? And what is finance all about? I said the universe of finance. I have a book here of finance. Where is it? Anyways, whatever, it's not that important now, the book, finance, but some people have this complexity idea that it's mathematics, equations, things that abstract, and time and arrangements, and selling securities in the stock market and trading stocks and valuations and speculation, and it is certainly all that. But a lot of people have this fear, equations, x fractions, percentages, x, y, z, negative interest rates. What is that? Counterintuitive. Negative interest rates? How can that be? Sounds counterintuitive, paradoxical. All part of the world of finance. Oh, headaches, finance. Imagine alien equations, and certainly there's complexity to financial agreements and arrangements and securities and mortgages. I'm a student of it, learning. So I've launched the World Citizen Finance Initiative to share the world together. I'm calling, for example, for one world currency. I've written theories about it. Here I am, right now in debt with $11,000, paying interest about $80 a month, expecting what, $698 is in Social Security. I'm an unemployed artist looking to make a living out of my poetry, my art, my theories, maybe put into practice my social political theories for a world of harmony, peace, and security. Advocate activist too. Of a universal unit of exchange to do business fair and free. Free but also fair. It has to be both in harmony and balance together. So you got a trade war initiated. And this is the essence, the core, or just to finish that, the essence and core, as long as of finance, the universe of finance, and many of us just think it's unreachable, esoteric, occult, magic even. Some of the complexities of it, and certainly there are complexities. And finance, the universe of finance, has galaxies, systems and planets and solar systems, which are of course can be related to banks and institutions and public and private and big multinationals and different financial agreements, mortgages, credit cards, agreements, interest, line of credit, and this and that. Interest rates of the central banks. My interest rate went from 70 to 80 now, just like in a year to pay, right? Because of the Bank of Canada. Now they hold the interest rates, they didn't raise it, and I'm happy. I pay less, and my fellow brothers and sisters also pay less, and this we should be aware of. But they raised it 3 times in the past 9 months, so mine also increased. But if jobs stagnate, no jobs, no additional income, it's going to cost us more. Go into more financial precariousness as I'm living right now. As I'm drinking this coffee that I bought 30% on special. Right. So the fundamental, the core and the essence of finance, you break down all the galaxies, the systems, the universe, the planets, the rules, the regulations, the organizations, everything. It's about 2 main principal core fundamentals. The essence is buying and selling. Whether you have a middleman or an ocean, or a middleman between the import and the export and the export and the import, and the producer and the buyer and the market. You might have several players or 3 players, or the producer, the farmer, the market. You might have the transport and everything interrelated and complexity. But fundamentally, essence and the core of finance, it's all finance equations and mathematics that are so hard, so complex. Yes. But when you break down the kernels, the shells of it, the essence, the fundamental of finance is buying and selling and buying. All those thick books in macroeconomics, and the book here, where is it? Entrepreneurship, thick book. Look. An introduction to global financial markets. Introduction to global financial markets. Introduction to global financial markets. See the different currencies of the world. The thick book looks 500 pages. Right? But you got this one. So you got this one, microeconomics. See? Microeconomics. See, thick. Look. how many pages? 700, more than 718. You have the glossary, see? Stock of capital, theory of the firm, welfare effects. Microeconomics, see? That's also microeconomics, of course, part of finance. Global financial. Finance world peace. Where is it? Anyways, had the micro and macroeconomics, but must be around here someplace. My office, Temple's World Citizens Gym, but wanted to show my macroeconomics book also, so that's part of finance. But unfortunately, at the present moment in time, it's somewhere. Fascinating, fascinating, fascinating. Book of Macroeconomics. Anyways, when you would break down all of that, the universe of finance and the complexities, it's about buying and selling. So the biggest producer, exporter, and seller, China, in a trade war with the biggest importer, buyer, and market, the United States of America, affecting the whole world. And now, yeah, thank you. Betty, have you seen my macroeconomics book? Okay.
Actually, the last time I was there was on one of your shelves.
See, the thing is, I have three economics books. One's micro and one's macro. The micro I have. Okay. Thanks, anyways. Well, I found it. It was below my comic book collection. Economics, see? So this one also has what? 630 pages, right? 630 pages, thick, right? Microeconomics has to do with small businesses, enterprise. This one, macro. I found the book. Yeah, I know. I found the book. Give me 1 second. Just a minute. I'm gonna go hang my clothes. I'm just wash my clothes. And my good friend, sister, oftentimes teacher, just got out of the shower, so I'm gonna go put the clothes. Just count to 37. Yeah, but the days are getting longer, so it's good. Yeah, yeah. You see? That's nice. I don't have it from I found the macro book, by the way. I found it, yeah. Yeah, it was underneath my comic book collection. Anyways, real raw life. Real raw life. So last subject was, I showed you 3 different economic books. Microeconomics, of course, has to do with small businesses such as myself, a struggling financially, living a financial entrepreneur, and to make a living from my poetry. My art, songwriting, rapping, dancing, and of course, want to have a fair and free, business in the near future. That incorporates me as an artist, as a spiritual teacher, and as a world LGBTQ citizen and advocate for the my fellow LGBTQ community. Anyways, so the micro has to do with that. Let's say micro, small shop, small business, grocery store, XYZ, a farm, right? A clothing store, stuff like that. Micro. Macro is at the nation level, at the state level. It's the macro. Of a country with the central bank and the institutions in the banking and the import and the export. That's macro. The one that I showed you, global introduction to global financial markets, kind of has to do with both my micro and macro. And there's of course interaction, constant interaction, right? Between the microeconomics and the macroeconomics. Micro and macro. Micro could be just said to be more the individual level, right? Individual business, commerce and trade, and the macro, the more political geo state, but also import export, of course, multinational and individual. So there's a lot of interactions, of course, between the two. So I showed you those 3 books, very thick. The other one 630 pages, the other one 718 pages, and the other one was like 418 pages. So you got 666 pages, 418 pages, and 718 pages. You know. So all that complexity, that's finance. Everything encompasses micro, macro. That's finance. Part of finance, universe of finance with systems, the planets, the solar systems, the galaxies. within the universe of finance. But at the core, the essence, the fundamental of what finance is all about is buying and selling. Right? Cash, or now we're moving slowly towards cashless. More than 156 currencies in the world. I'm an advocate for a dual system of world currency. I've written much theory and essays and papers about it, which I have to find in my office, temple. World citizenship also. You get 3 in 1. Age and Age Dragon. And on a dual sort of system with their accreditation of existing debt, for example, and transforming it, what I call conversion, financial debt conversion. Financial conversion. And a global central bank to issue the universal exchange unit. Fortunately, cannot finance it myself. Need financial help at the present moment in time. I said struggling with some debt. About 11,000. Was not born with a silver spoon. Me, self-teaching and learning and struggling. Anyways, so. We do volunteer a lot, so for the government helps out with social assistance, also known as welfare, and a lot of volunteering. I'm an advocate of volunteering and compensation, social or financial compensation for those who do volunteer. I'm gonna get to those theories, but it's a value that I hold dear to. So, not like paying interest and think that interest should be limited, and I'm an advocate of low interest rates. So back to the main core topic, harmonious Sino Canadian or North American relations. Now I'm gonna get to the Huawei affair, which is a big mess, political mess. Was volunteering on Christmas Day, December 25th, in the community. Of course, were a lot of different people, but we have a beautiful, lovely Asian community or Chinese Canadian community here in Montreal, Hawk Island. And there's a lot of Chinese Canadians who came, were present, beautiful children, so lovely, so well behaved. Of course, Santa Claus and myself was serving the food to the speaking. And then my New Year's resolution is actually to learn Chinese or Mandarin. Mandarin is the main Chinese spoken language, also Cantonese, Mandarin is the main. So that's my New Year's resolution, to learn Chinese, to learn Mandarin for harmonious, peaceful, cordial North American Sino, specifically Canadian, since the chief financial officer of Huawei was arrested in Canada. Now, I have to take a balanced approach to what happened. What's going on? Because there's accusations and accusations and accusations. But the core of the Huawei affair is, of course, the arrest of the daughter of the founder of Huawei. And a note on Huawei. Oh yeah, to finish up before after my my volunteering on Christmas Day. Walking home for 37 minutes or so, walking, or even less. I've been walking slowly, so about a little bit more than 37. Saw a billboard. 3 billboards actually, but one caught, there were advertising billboards, one next to the other. And one caught my eye specifically. One is advertising for Huawei, and it was the cell phones, the new smartphones actually. Correction, millennials, I'm a millennial myself. LGBTQ millennial, world citizen. So it was the Huawei actually, the first time that I've seen it. Perhaps this is the first time that I've noticed it since it was in the news, Huawei. Perhaps there was other billboards of Huawei, but never really noticed it since myself have my smartphone, which is not Huawei. But I've seen it, saw it. So I was meditating upon the whole affair, you know, it's XYZ and how can there be a resolution. So in Vancouver, Canadian authorities, the RCMP, which is known as the Mounties, our federal police in Canada, arrested Meng Wanzhou, also known as Kathy Meng, daughter of the founder of Huawei, Renfei. Since Canada, we have an extradition treaty with the United States. Of course, myself was an American twice in a past life, so you can see eye to eye my American brothers and sisters, resolve issues, solutions. So she was arrested, extradition charged with the United States. There was an arrest warrant, so accordingly, supposedly by law, that had to be done in that circumstance. That had to be done by law. Yes, no, perhaps, maybe, gray zones. Listen, it's done now. Let's move forward. For peace, for security, for prosperity, with life, love, liberty. Striving towards a free world, secure, safety. Myself need healing, recovering financially now. Could use a hug right about now. By the way, living in a financially precarious situation, $11,000 in debt, receiving on the 1st of January only $698 after rent, paying electricity bill, phone bill. I'm about left with $156 for food and other expenses for January, since unless income comes from my art, my poetry, planning to do a show mid-January, so from that. So that stated, got more than 7 billion hugs, free hugs for free to give, and that includes 1.4, more than 1.4. China is the most populous country on earth. More than 1.4 billion hugs for my Asian, Chinese specifically brothers and sisters as well, included. Although I'm in debt, 11,000, paying interest 80. We're about minus $500 at the bank. Pay $4 a month to get a 500 overdraft protection. Bank fees. So that stated, I have to mention also the Huawei is, of course, seems that the Chinese, there's some authorities, not the Chinese as a whole, I say Canadian, American, and Chinese, there's so many of us, right? That there's individuals and peoples and groups who have to discern and be wise and understand and knowledgeable in that, have arrested or have detained at least 3 Canadians up till now. Speculation that it's related to Canadian arrest of Meng, Kathy Meng, the chief financial officer of Huawei. Huawei, of course, has overtaken Apple to become the second seller and by extension, I guess, producer of smartphones. And from my understanding, it is the world's biggest producer of telecommunications equipment, which includes for cell phone, like cell phone towers, and of course internet infrastructure, and electronics gadgets, hardware, right? Hardware. And one worrisome thing is the allegations of espionage, spying on behalf of the Communist Party of China, on behalf of China's government. This is certainly some worrisome, hard allegations, because since 1984 we've developed, I'm saying we as North Americans, Western world, free world, developed a business, commercial and financial partnership with China. It's part of the world order now, China. Right? See how we can move forward. I have more questions than answers at this point in time. Do, of course, value privacy, and as for a fine balance, of course, between privacy and security. It's a fine balance, delicate balance. But also, the fact is, all these technological changes since 1984 have happened so fast and so rapid, have overwhelmed so many of us, with integration of the world, economically, of course, culture also, movies, songs, art, right, with the internet, the biggest disruptive force, look, even commerce, finance and business, has been absorbed into the internet. What is the internet? Well, you tell me what it is. What's the sun? I know a little bit, I've never been there. I don't know how close we can get, but perhaps not that close. So, mystic, spiritual things aside, the question of security and privacy, sure, it's an important one, and I'm looking for dialogue comments. Where can we reach that balance between private, public, privacy and security, and balancing our public life with our private life? Is it possible of espionage? Of course it is. Technologically, from my understanding, what I've learned from others, the gadgets. So I'm making this video unedited, raw, real. Coffee with Dragon, I'm gonna post it online, YouTube, Facebook. Making it public. Here for dialogue, cordiality, dialogue, communication, learning, growing, healing. Espionage, spying. It's not new. We had Cold War for 50 years. It's 1949 or 1950, let's say, in 1991 or so. 89 something. Berlin Wall fell about that time, let's say about till the fall of the Berlin Wall, which happened on November 9, 1989, right? That's when officially the Berlin Wall was done with, destroyed, or cancelled out, whatever. 1989, November 9th. So let's say 49 years of Cold War. Or you can take 40 years, or whatever. 50s to 89, 40 years. Cold War. Bipolar world. World order changed. China. 5,000-year-old civilization, friends. Calling for peaceful, harmonious, cordial, Sino-North American relations. Sure, human rights. First one to rally up for human rights and for injustice. Sure. We can work with Chinese people. We can work with them. We don't have to conflict or war. We've been there as humanity. We've been there. We've done it. Right? We've done with that. It's more easier said than done. Knows I have my issues. Couldn't use a hug button now. So, so much more to say, of course. But we'll just read for 3 minutes about China. Calling, of course, for peaceful resolutions, win-win, fair and free trade, and for cordial, harmonious, peaceful Sino-North American and Sino-Western relations to work together for a new world order of peace, security, prosperity, or for universal brotherhood of life, light, liberty, together. In the news, The Guardian, Canadian men to appear in Chinese court on drug smuggling charges, and for the legalization of all drugs. Can we work something out? Just we legalized marijuana just a month ago in Canada. I'm not a drug user myself, but with responsibility. Freedom is a sword that's double-edged to carry. Am I brave enough to lift it? Not alone. Not alone. That's my sister, friend, oftentimes nature's help, can lift it together. Who else is with us? With me. It's hard to lift. China is finding new ways to hurt US businesses that in political. Canadians' drug case appeal to be heard in China. How to watch live online as China attempts to land on the moon. Ma Jiang, China's ex-intelligence chief, jailed for life. Alleged leader of Chinese consulate attack in Pakistan, killed. China's H-20 stealth bomber, copy of the US B-2, leads a new wave of. China silent on Canadian awaiting drug smuggling trial. Why China's private firms still fear being taxed to death. Canadians set for drug smuggling trial in China. So relations have deteriorated. Canada, I'm calling for good, harmonious, peaceful Sino-Canadian relations to work together. China, officially the People's Republic of China, PRC, is a country in East Asia and the world's most populous country with a population of around 1.4 billion, covering approximately 9,600,000 square kilometers That is 3,700,000 square miles. It is the third or fourth largest country by total area. So third or fourth is disputed, I guess, with Australia perhaps, or India. Governed by the Communist Party of China. The state exercises jurisdiction over 22 provinces, 5 autonomous regions, 4 direct controlled municipalities, which are Beijing, and that's the capital, Tianjin, Shanghai, and Chongqing. Chongqing is a big mega cities. Big mega city, Chongqing. So these are basically mega cities. Beijing, Tianjin, Shanghai, and Chongqing. They're called direct control municipalities. Of course, municipalities sounds like they're small towns, but these are mega cities of millions and millions of people. And the special administrative regions of Hong Kong and Macau. People's Republic of China called Zhonghua Renmin Konghego. That is Pinyin. Anthem is called March of the Volunteers. Yongzhun Ring Shinku. Yongzhun Ring Shinku. Yongzhun Ring Shinku. Area controlled by the People's Republic of China, shown in dark green, claimed but uncontrolled regions, shown in light green. Capital is Beijing. The largest city is Shanghai. Official languages is Standard Chinese. Recognized regional languages: Mongolian, Uyghur, Tibetan, Zhuang, various others. Official script: Simplified Chinese. Ethnic groups: 91.51% Han. That's H-A-N. Han. Han. That's Han. Funny because my name is Honey. First, you got minorities: 51, Shuang, Man, Manchu, Uyghur, Hui, Miao, Yi, Luzhan, Mongol, Zhang, Tibetan, Bui, Shosun, that's Korean. Chinese. The government: unitary, Marxist, Leninist, one-party socialist republic. And it might be a little mistake here, because from my understanding it's the government is unitary, yes, it's a one-party state. Marxist Leninist Maoism, because Mao taught and read books, and his Marxist Leninist philosophy is embodied. So unitary Marxist Leninist one-party socialist republic. But I'm surprised that it's not Marxist Leninist Maoist one-party socialist republic. Party General, Secretary and President: Xi Jinping. Premier: Li Keqiang. Congress Chairman: Li Rangshu. Wang Yang. Conference Chairman. First Secretary of the Party Secretariat: Wang Hongyu. Secretary of the Discipline Inspection Commission: Zhao Leji. First Vice Premier: Han Zheng. Vice President: Wang Qishan. Legislature: National People's Congress. Formation: First Imperial Unification, 221 before the Common Era. So that's exactly when the Roman Republic started transitioning. But the Imperial Unification of China, 221 before the Common Era. The Republic established 1st of January 1912. People's Republic declared 21st of September 1949. That's of course when Mao Zedong. Proclamation of the People's Republic, 1st of October 1949. The current constitution was adopted on the 4th of December 1982. Last polity admitted, December 20, 1999. Area, we said it. Population, said it, we said it. Population at the 2010 consensus was 33 billion. The GDP is a total of 25 trillion. It's actually first in GDP, gross domestic product, or purchasing power parties. 25 trillion. China has 25 trillion. $25.2 trillion. 1 trillion again is 1,000 billion. Keep that in mind. Per capita, of course, is 16 because it's 18,666. The nominal GDP, however, is 14 trillion. So it is in about 11 trillion difference. So it's the second by nominal. Not going to go into the distinction. The currency is the renminbi, or also called yuan. Renminbi. China emerged as one of the world's earliest civilizations. China emerged as one of the world's earliest civilizations. China emerged as one of the world's earliest civilizations in the fertile basin of the Yellow River in the North China Plain. For millennia, China's political system was based on hereditary monarchies or dynasties, beginning with the semi-legendary Xia, spelled Xia dynasty in 21st century BCE, before the Common Era. Semi-legendary, I guess, because it's had a mythical founding, semi-divine origins, and they have a foundational myth, of course, or legends, if you want, or actually belief. 21st century before the Common Era, so that's 2100 before the Common Era. Since then, China has expanded, fractured, and reunified numerous times. In the 3rd century before the Common Era, the Qin unified core China and established the First Chinese Empire. The succeeding Han dynasty, which ruled from 206 before the Common Era until 220 the Common Era, saw some of the most advanced technology at that time, including paper making and the compass, along with agricultural and medical improvements. The invention of gunpowder and movable type in the Tang dynasty and Northern Song completed the 4 great inventions. Tang culture spread widely in Asia as the new Silk Route brought traders to as far as Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is where Babylon, Sumeria is Mesopotamia, the region where currently is Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Middle East, a lot of, not all, but part of the Middle East. That's Mesopotamia, where the ancient Sumerians, Babylonia, and Horn of Africa. Dynastic rule ended in 1912 with the Xinhai Revolution, when a republic replaced a Qing dynasty. The Chinese Civil War resulted in a division of territory in 1949, when the Communist Party of China established the People's Republic of China, a unitary one-party sovereign state on mainland China, while the Kuomintang-led government retreated to the island of Taiwan. Present Taiwan, it's sometimes when you see products from Taiwan, it has PRC or POC. It's the distinction of Republic of China and People's Republic of China. So People Republics of China is the mainland China, and Republic of China is another name for Taiwan. Taiwan is an island, right? So again, some people don't understand this history, and that's to do with the Civil War and Mao Zedong, and the Kuomintang-led government retreated to the island of Taiwan. And even today, Taiwan's official name is Republic of China. But there have been separate since that time, because the Kuomintang originally government was there in mainland China, so they retreated on the island with the remaining soldiers. The Civil War, understand? We'll have to understand. That's like the political status of Taiwan remains disputed, and it dates back to that period of time. that period of time, the Civil War. Mao Zedong. The political status of Taiwan remains disputed. Since the introduction of economic reforms in 1978, China's economy has been one of the world's fastest growing, with annual growth rates consistently above 6%. As of 2016, it is the world's second largest economy by nominal GDP and largest by purchasing power parity. China is also the world's largest exporter and second largest importer of goods. Isn't that amazing? So obviously China exports, but in the past, since the great financial crisis, or China also became in the past, since the late 90s, also an importer of goods. So skills, right? Yeah. To discern, be more wise, understanding knowledge. To work together for world peace, security, and prosperity with a life, light, and liberty. China is a recognized nuclear weapons state and has the world's largest standing army. You would imagine as the most populated country, state, nation on earth, has the world's largest standing army and second largest defense budget. And this has to be noted that the defense budget, although they're the second, the United States of America, of course, their defense budget is several times over the People's Republic of China when you look at the numbers. And actually it's the United States defense budget is all like 7 others. United States is number 1, and all of the rest, like 7 ones combined, even do not reach the defense budget of the United States, which in terms of numbers. And so the PRC, People's Republic of China, is a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, as it replaced the ROC, the Republic of China, which also known as Taiwan, in 1971. Interestingly, right, how that interplayed, right? As well as an active global partner of ASEAN Plus mechanism. China is also a leading member of numerous formal and informal multilateral organizations, including the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, known as the SCO, WTO, and that's the World Trade Organization, make trade more fair, would be my call to them. APEC, Asian Pacific Economic Council. APEC, it doesn't say here, but it stands for Asia Pacific Economic Council, not a financial treaty agreement. BRICS. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. BRICS, known as, in other terms in financial world, as the emerging markets. So BRICS, BRIC nation, you might have heard it in the news, stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. The BCIM and the G20. In recent times, China has been widely characterized as a global superpower. Since the Berlin Wall fell, November 9th, 1989, pretty much the world order was where one superpower ruled, sort of, or maintained a world order, right? More or less. So, is it superpower? Yes. And now we're gonna just listen to the anthem a bit. Could easily write poetry, rap, this or dance on that. I think, did you hear the compost?